You are listening to the sounds of the Right On Network.
Hello and welcome to episode 17 of On the Record Jams, brought to you by the Right On Network. I'm AJ and along with me is Arthur. Hello, Arthur.
Hello, AJ. We're back.
We're back like we never left. And hey, I want to talk about our Patreon subscribers, Arthur, because they're helping us go and grow in the year 2025 and beyond. We got a lot of shows here at the Right On Network, and the reason why this show in particularly exists is because of our Patreon subscribers. And that's Alan Wright, he's bold outlaw, Robin Hood enthusiast. The sound of the Right On Network, you heard that intro music. It's also our station identification sound. And that's Delvin Sims, DJ Merc. Check out his music on Apple Music. DJ Merc, M-E-R-C. You got albums on there, all kind of stuff. We got the podcrash himself, Tim Price. He does the Outcasters podcast. Friend of the Right On Network, Cluck Trent. We have Mark Blair. Paul Hicks over in Australia. Hello, Paul. He does Waiting for Doom, DCOCD, The Gary Show, and Dial F for Flanger. Laurel Phillips. Listen to her on the Huntress podcast. Over at the Fire and Water Podcast Network, we have the Irredeemable Shag. Fire and Water Podcast Network. He does a lot of lovely programming there, like JSA Presents Just Society of America in the 1990s. All kind of things. Fire and Water Podcast. Justin Steiner, Shoe Fly Pie on Substack. Shoe Fly Pie, Justin Steiner. We have Rick from Jeff and Rick Present Unpacking the Power of the Power Pack. Chris Pine 1, Bill Beer of the Bat Pod. April 5K, listen to her on the Manhattan Project, talking about Friends and Seinfeld, some 1990 stuff. The great Jordan Holt and Clinton Robeson of Coffee and Comics and Fan Film Fridays. Guys, thank you for going to patreon.com/rightonnetwork. We'll put that on the show notes. We truly appreciate your friendly gesture there, and go there to patreon.com/rightonnetwork for those exclusive videos and audio that we have there for you. So, Arthur, this is what we're bringing on the record this time. We're going to the early aughts. What is it? AUGHT. We're going to the early 2004. I remember it like it was yesterday. We're talking about the debuted album from the MC from Harlem, Northern Manhattan, Vast Aire of Cannibal Ox fame, featuring MF Doom, Metal Fingers Doom. What do you think about that, Arthur?
Well, that's a good time. That's a lot to unpack right there. It gets us back to Doom, so you know I'm all good with that. And maybe it gives us an excuse to talk about that Can Ox album, too.
Okay, so yes, we're going to talk about the produced by Metal Fingers Doom record to Superfriendz. All right. So this came out in 2004. The main sample of this is from a Fat Albert cartoon in the 1970s. It was a Halloween special. I think it comes up around 17 minutes into it. That is insane. So there's a lot going on in this song before we really get into the record. And one thing I want to do is talk about the power of the Wu-Tang Clan, Enter the 36 Chambers and beyond. So, full disclosure, before that album came out, I was kind of wandering away from hip hop for 3 or 4 years, basically my middle school years. And then I remember when the Source Awards came on, I watched that, and when Method Man went into the crowd to do Bring the Pain, I was like, oh, that's interesting. What's this? And then when I looked it up, found out he was a member of the Wu-Tang Clan, and I started listening to the music, boom, it starts bringing me back to hip-hop. Now, the Wu-Tang Clan right now is the year 2025, June 18th. They're doing this final chamber tour, the Wu-Tang Clan. They just came through Houston, Texas with Run the Jewels. And they've been doing talk shows and stuff like this. They're doing their victory lap. Some of the Wu-Tang members are going on talk shows and talking about, their ventures. And one of the things that's not being mentioned is yes, of course, we remember that time period, Arthur, where there were a lot of great MCs, a lot of great production, doing some of the stuff that the Wu-Tang Clan was doing. I think one element that's not being brought up is that the Wu-Tang Clan, when they were doing their metaphors and similes and double entendres, it was referencing pop culture of the time period and the past. Remember that?
Oh yeah. They were doing both. In some ways it made people kind of feel seen because we had to do a lot of legwork to be retro back then. I think that's something that, when we start feeling really old and start sounding really old, when we say, man, all these kids got to do now is just download this or go look into that. And we were like having to go hunt down and search things. And it was a little bit harder to find your tribe when you were doing anything off the beaten path. And I think
I think I'm going to have to look into it and listen to Big Daddy Kane, Rakim, listen to Run DMC, because it could have been some things that they were doing, but I didn't pick up on it at the time. But if I go back and go, but like, I want to go back and listen to some of these old records, and were they like, no, we referenced something that came on in 1955. Dude, we were referencing Leave It to Beaver. You didn't catch it. So just like with the Wu-Tang Clan, they were referencing things, cartoons and all this stuff from the early 80s, early 70s, and like nerd stuff. So like, yes, when Wu-Tang Clan entered 36 Chambers, returned to the 36 Chambers with Old Dirty Bastard, Tikal, Method Man, all the stuff, Raekwon, the Purple Tape, it's raunchy stuff. They get explicit, but they're also doing like this nerd dork culture that I don't think was ever like done to that scale, on that scale. And so what ends up happening is, I think that starts tapping into a consciousness. So like we have someone like Vast Aire where, hey, he's from Harlem, and Cameron and his crew, they're from Harlem, but they're not doing the same thing. They're not tapped in the same chamber. So when you listen to Vast Aire, it sounds more like a kind of alternative culture, a kind of alternative delivery, pop culture, dork stuff being thrown in there. Whereas when you listen to the Diplomats and Cameron's movement, it's something totally different. So I think by the time we get, and like, just like with the RZA, he had one type of career and then it didn't work out. So he had to redefine himself and then come back. Same thing with MF Doom, where he had a career before MF Doom. Did some stuff, all that, then reinvented himself and he came back. Now he's this character where like, hey, am I, this character from Dr. Doom from Marvel Comics? When I rap, will it be, some good MCing plus these double entendres and these sneaky things where I'm referencing comics, cartoons, all this stuff. So like all of these things are happening. So by the time we get to 2004, there's this lane that these people could run with. And that's going to happen a lot on this record. The Superfriendz from Vast Aire's album, Look Mom, No Hands.
Yep, we got it all, man. And it's like you said, it's like Wu-Tang gave people the, hey, I didn't know I could do this, but if you're telling me I can, now I'm going to. And it opened the door for this subgenre, and we got a lot of it. I mean, late 90s, early 2000s, and lots of gifts, lots of good times.
Yeah, so when you get the Wu Gambinos and the Wu-Tang Clan renamed themselves and Method Man as Johnny Blaze, I was like, well, what's that? Then I look it up, I'm like, oh, Ghost Rider, oh, that's a comic book. Oh, I never knew that. That's how I found out about Tony Stark. Like, this is like 1994, 1995. I was like, what's that? What's Tony Stark? And I looked up, oh, that's Iron Man from the comic books? Like, I had no idea. So they were sparking something in me where I was like, oh, I had no idea of this. Look what they just turned me on to. So this record, like we said, is produced by MF Doom. It's on Vast Aire's solo album. The rapper Joey Bad, he rapped to this beat. I love the bass lines on this too. On YouTube, someone said that this is on the FIFA 22 video game.
Nice.
And like what we mentioned before. So a lot of people, they're coming to this. So the thing about it is, And to me, as soon as you listen to this music, because the music is ragtime, like it's like ragtime jazz music that they made specifically for this cartoon. So just think about what we're talking about. As soon as you listen to this music, you instantly go into nostalgia mode. You instantly start thinking like, oh, the past. Now, the thing about it is these gentlemen, they're kind of slightly older than us. So their references of what they might go back to find stuff, it's going to be a little bit further back before like I was born, or I'm watching this, but I'm so young, like I'm not comprehending what's going on. So just the genius of MF Doom, I don't know the story of how he went and found this beat, because it is perfect. And like when you go back and you listen to this, it's pretty much strictly from that cartoon. Now I'm thinking he may have added some extra drums on it and like that bass line. I go back, but it's pretty funky already. And MF Doom, he reminds us of this. So like in those 1970s, 1980s, when you listen to the PBS Sesame Street, and when it would go off, when they would do their closing credits, and it was like, da-da-da-da, boom, like, why did it go hard? Why did these theme songs in the 70s and 80s, why did the music go hard? Why, Arthur?
You know why? Because jazz musicians were frustrated and they were trying to get somewhere. You couldn't just play in the club, like you had to get records out there. And they weren't playing all this stuff on the radio all the time. So it was like, hey, they got to find another end. And so there was just opportunity for them to be on these shows. And like you talk about, you get the people of a certain age that like the certain type of music. And then they start having their own shows, Fat Albert, for instance, for this song. And then when they say, hey, man, I'm going to use my resources to create a song, I'm going to get these jazz guys and they're going to play me some funky, happening jazz of the moment, and they're going to get all their stuff in because I'm just trying to get music for my show. So who cares? Make it funky. Make it whatever you want. Just make it good and catchy. So when people watch my show, they also have that to go with too, right?
Yes. And okay, like I mentioned before, this music, it's ragtime music. So the thing about it is, if this cartoon came out in the 70s, this type of music, it's already 30 to 40 years old. So just think about that. Like, this isn't like, hey, we thought the 60s were cool, so let's throw the 60s in this cartoon. They're going back to like, we got to go to the original cool. We got to go to the original American pop culture. We got to go back to jazz. All right. Well, so you guys want to talk about some bars? We'll give you some bars. All right, so this is from the Superfriendz. And of course, it's DA and Superfriendz with a Z at the end. All right, so MF Doom starts first. And also, I just think Vast Aire, just himself, he sounds retro. Both of these guys, they just sound like the past. So like when you listen to this in 2004, I do remember what was going on with me at this time, but I felt like, you know, if we're talking about like Wu-Tang Clan, like early 1993, by the time you get to 2003, 2004, like, yeah, music's going to do some swerving. So when I discovered, you know, we talked about Cannibal Ox and Vast Aire as a member of it. For me, I didn't learn about that till maybe a couple of years, several years after the fact. It was like a breath of fresh air. So I mentioned that Run the Jewels, they are touring with the Wu-Tang Clan. LP from Run the Jewels, he produced that Cannibal Ox album.
Yes, he did.
Which I just think is freaking phenomenal.
Yes.
So, all right. We're going to break down some of these lyrics, Arthur. So MF Doom, he goes in first. He goes, give him some skin. Yeah, a real country bumpkin. Get up off his property. The villain, Fuzzy Lumpkins. Dumping. Enough raw lead to leave a forehead sunken. When he's on tour, keep your paws off his pumpkin dumpling. And these lyrics, they're very hard to deliver. Like, it's really hard to rap along to them. And I think that's the point. It's like, all right, if you want to try to copy this or rap along with me, I got all these traps that's going to trip you up, letting you know this is how great of an MC I am.
Right. And I'm on beat when I'm doing it, buddy. So good luck to you.
Yeah. When he's on tour, keep your paws off his pumpkin dumpling. And one thing that MF Doom, what he would do, and again, yes, of course, there was a lot going on like this, 2004, yeah. But he's doing a thing of getting the archaic dictionary. So saying things like, oh, these old things, I was about to throw them away. Like old sayings that, you would hear like in a 1950s TV show. Everybody loves my baby, but my baby don't love nobody but me. He's bringing that back into his vernacular with these bars. So he goes, town, village, nympho. Now it's all his, though. The way she got down was far from privilege info. Break up to make up, wake up, smell the endo. Just from how she liked to show her belly button ring, though.
These are raps.
The town, village, nympho.
Lots of raps.
Now it's all his, though. He got it. There you go. The village bicycle. Everybody gets a ride. So then he goes, couldn't tell him nothing, 5200, Atari or Sega. Test tube L's with the lid, Garcia y Vega. His tongue is like the sword that's mighty like a pen, and you ain't seen nothing like the Mighty Quinn. Alrighty then. I always hear about this Mighty Quinn thing. Like the Mighty Quinn. Referencing 5200. Now, I remember 2600 by Atari. What's 5200, Arthur?
I had a 5200. So they made Atari 2600, and then they made the 5200. It didn't last long, but that just happened to be the period of time where I was at the point of getting a system for the house. And the controller was super elaborate, but the system was ultra buggy and didn't last long. But I had one. I had like 3 or 4 games for it. I had like Pac-Man, Cubert, you name it. And then they made a 7800 after that.
So, okay, the thing is, I'm noticing that in particularly Inspector Deck and Method Man, they're being like reevaluated. People are going back and go, whoa, wait a minute. They were really laying down some bars and we were ignoring it. And I think because like it got to the point where I think like Wu-Tang Clan, like people are like, hey man, that stuff's hot, but it's also kind of weird and strange. Whereas like these other people, they're dropping hot bars and it's kind of just straight up. Like I don't have to look into like what your religion is to figure it out. I don't need to dissect you talking about pop culture. Like I don't have to do all that stuff. It's just, hey, these people are dropping hot bars. They're doing double entendres. They're doing similes and metaphors, but it's not weirdo stuff. So I felt like it got to the point where like when I would bring up Wu-Tang Clan stuff, people were like, why are you still talking about that? Whereas like with this is showing, I felt like in those early 2000s, that's when I rediscovered, oh, people are still rapping like this. And like, oh, okay, it's okay. Like it was like this whole movement of it's okay. So that's why I really appreciate it. Like when I bumped into when Kevin, our mutual friend, brought up MF Doom. And like I was like, oh, people still doing this? So then it goes, seal the deal with the shaking of a hand. People catching feelings like it's making of the band. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Remember that TV show with P. Diddy?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, that guy from Philadelphia, man, I remember I actually listened to that album, Making of the Band. And because like, down south rap was more popular, they curved his presence on there. All right. And so come up with
Ness?
his name later.
Was it Ness?
Ness. Yeah. Elliot Ness. Yes. I thought he was nice.
Because he was nice.
He was one of the members of Making of the Band. But yeah, they didn't really put a lot of his verses down. Anyway, villain have you fake man quaking in his vans. When he do a jam, fans break dancing in the stands. So those Vans, I guess he's talking about the shoes, right?
Of course.
Chances are he'll lose the battle and the war. Yeah, trying to go to shore with just a paddle and an oar. Ooh, shucks. He should have known them two schmucks would have come through the game. Lame ducks off buku bucks. Now, I just love when he does this because this is really hard to pull off. Trying to go to shore with just a paddle and an oar. Ooh.
Yeah.
He gives us the slang Yiddish stuff right here with the two schmucks.
Yes.
Woo.
Shucks, smucks, buku bucks.
They make it seem so easy.
How do you even think about doing this, right? Like this type of rapping, you could say, oh man, people are still rapping like this, but it's still more of, even by this time, I was like, how can you rap like this? Like, how does your mind make these words come together in this way? And you're keeping a narrative going. And sure, in the background, sometimes the narrative is just, I love talking about this, but like the whack MCs are going to get it this year. Like that narrative, like that's what it is. It's dressed up amazingly, but how do you get it across in this way and make it this fun and this cool? And like you say, over these type of odd beats where you're like, how would somebody think to sample this? And even when you sample it and that's looping in the studio, you're like, how are you going to rap over this? And then they just come in and they just ride it. And it's just great.
So Vast Aire comes in with the chorus, "Your middle fingers fix the beat with fire or water. I advise all fathers to watch their daughters. It's going down tonight. We got monsters in the crowd and they're ready to fight." And then the refrain comes in. "Metal fingers fix the beat with fire or water. I advise all fathers to watch their daughters. We keep tricks up the sleeve coming through with the Justice League, but you don't hear me though." So, Justice League, again, comic books, that kind of stuff. So then now we have Vast Aire. And what's interesting about this is when you listen to Cannibal Ox and it's produced by LP, it sounds like Space Odyssey 2001. It's just really strange. And Vast Aire does a lot of kind of interesting delivery. Where the other member of Cannibal Ox, he's just straightforward. I'm shooting bars. Where Vast Aire, he's rapping to himself. When you do the ad libs, he's the ad lib. He's rapping to the ad lib. The ad lib is rapping back to him. So it's something kind of like that'd be hard to pull off live. And it's also something where you got to sit down with the producer and go, look, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then, I'm going to rap to myself, and then the punchline is going to come. But from this angle, it'll come out the other speaker. And then in the eardrum, they'll hear that. And I'm rapping to myself, and myself is rapping back to it. So he's doing those things. But on this, he has to kind of almost be straightforward.
Right.
Because he usually doesn't do that. So it goes, "I used to sew army patches on my favorite coat." That just right there, it makes you go, oh, he's talking about the 70s. Like he's talking about the past, nostalgia, right? Yep. BMX got your guns, old folks got soap. Homeless Sally from Cali curse, cats in the alley. Your mother sounds so foul, we wash our mouths out with soap. So again, the childhood thing, Saturday morning cartoons, a simpler, more complicated time. I came up with cats that never be smiling, never smiling. I called Doom, he said meet him on Monster Island, where the girls look good and the MCs be wildin'. You can catch me in velour suits styling, with Lady Jane holding hands with the Baroness, and that's G.I. Joe, right?
Yes.
Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes don't got nothing on this. I got them go-go gadgets. So when the Cobra Law come through the floor, I'm putting snakes in baskets.
These are bars. These are bars, man.
And then I like where MF Doom, he just comes in. We rhyme and do our thing like Stymie from Our Gang. I don't know that one. Guitar Twain, Try Me, and Why Die Die Dang. I don't think, okay, this is one of my favorite. I don't think you want to know, even if you still do, and want me to tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. Will you please? And then this is when just, this is when just everything just, oh man. It's like a grilled cheese sandwich. Gotta bring the butter, else the bread'll get damaged.
Yeah. Bars. And Stymie from Our Gang, that's a 1930s show reference.
See?
Like you talk about going back with the old references, like even for them, that's a wildly old reference.
Yeah. It's just like Seinfeld, whenever they would reference pop culture, they would go back to the 30s and 40s. Like if they were like, oh yeah, that really, that Hollywood female bombshell, it wouldn't be someone of the day. It wouldn't be someone from the 70s or 80s. They would always go back to like the 30s and 40s. And I think that way it'll somewhat make it timeless because, kind of when you put pop music, not all the time, but I think when you put pop music in a movie, it'll throw me off. Like I grew up with that. And then I think like in the 90s, it seemed like they got away from it. So when I hear it now, I always find it jarring because it's like, oh, you just time capsule this thing. But all right. So yeah. Wow. All right. And then he goes, it's like a grilled cheese sandwich. Gotta bring the butter, else the bread'll get damaged. Flip it, slice it, give half to Vast Aire. If you ask nicely and bring a glass, we'll share the last beer here.
Yeah.
Who does this?
MF Doom does this. That's who does this. Like this is,
oh my God.
Like we talk about him and his Wu-Tang tie-in, but I want to make sure we don't do anything to disparage. Like this is an accomplishment all on its own. Even if we want to say the Wu threw a lot of these guys from this era, late 90s, early 2000s, the alley-oop, man, these dudes grabbed it and did an NBA jam, flip inside out, 360, jump over the moon, come back down, slam it down. Like these dudes were not
Terry Porter, Clyde Drexler.
Yeah, like these dudes did it. Like they made it count.
It's like a grilled cheese sandwich. Gotta bring the butter, else the bread'll get damaged. Flip it, slice it, give half to Vast Aire. If you ask nicely and bring a glass, we'll share the last beer here. Okay, then this is where Vast Aire is going to come and close it out. After the Code Vein and Doomsday. So Code Vein, that's Cannibal Ox's first album, and Doomsday, that's an album that MF Doom released before this.
Right.
We don't need no pop. Revolution. We hit cops with judo chops. And all you see is red, black, and green. No, I'm down for my team. They killed Radio Raheem. So we know Radio Raheem from Do the Right Thing. Yep. It was like one of the first movies that ever affect me in real life. Oh, man. Then he goes, now I want to smoke a blunt. Blow off some steam. Open my mouth like Godzilla, and all you see is light beams. This rap, it ain't always what it seems. You can leave it to the Superfriendz to spill the beans.
I think you promised bars and then you read a bunch of bars. That's what that was. Yeah. That was a bunch of really dead serious good rapping, but at the same time, there's jokes. They're carrying on, passing on the jokes to each other and picking them up and going with it, doing like a relay thing. And it's just, it sounds almost effortless until you just think about what it would take to come up with this from a blank sheet of paper. And it's like, oh, yeah, these people are good at this.
Yes, this is sitting around the lunch table, banging on the table, spitting these rhymes.
Yep, super elevated though because of the density, the one-liners, the references. You got to go look up the reference sometime to be like, what are they talking about? And then sometimes you get something like that whole piece where you get the G.I. Joe. You get the 80s cartoon rundown, but you get the G.I. Joe and the snake eyes and the just, oh, come on. Just good.
I used to sew army patches on my favorite coats.
Tells you a lot really quick.
Yes, you got to check this one out. It's Vast Aire, V-A-S-T. You saw it in the show notes. A-I-R-E, the Superfriendz. And MF Doom, you were a heck of a guy because you could have kept this one. Because he produced it. You gave this to Vast Aire? Wow, man.
And it ain't like he didn't have more. I mean, this was during his run of just a blitz of songs, and then eventually he got the stuff with Cartoon Network, and there was even more cartoon samples to come, and He hit this nerve and just kept doing it. And it's just like, geez Louise, man. Aqua Teen, Hunger Force, and things of that nature.
I definitely want to hear your thoughts about this one. Yeah, guys, look. Contact us. Let's go listen to this. Even if if hip hop's not your thing, or these two MCs and how they approach music, if it's not your thing, check this out. I want to hear your thoughts about this one, because for both of these MCs, if I had to do a starter pack, and I only got 5 to 10 songs to choose from, I'm putting this on there.
Yeah, I mean, and nobody's going to be upset with you when it comes to that song, too. It's going to work.
I freaking love it. So, yeah, how can they contact us, Arthur?
otrj.bsky.social. ontherecordjams@gmail.com. On the Record is on Facebook. We also have On the Record Jams on the X, if you do that still.
We want to hear from you guys. Thank you for listening to us. And keep your lamplight trimmed and burning.
And keep jamming.